Hello and welcome to today's show with Nicole, my amazing co-host, and the wonderful Frankie Adao. Welcome to the show.
Hi guys, thanks for having me on.
Coming on, Frankie. Frankie can I do a brief intro?
Go for it.
I can't even begin to cover all the things that Frankie does because he is really a man who wears like a million hats. But Frankie is a forensic social worker, cognitive behavioral therapist. He's the co-founder of the Parasite Experience. He hosts a podcast. You do sound healing. You do a little bit of everything. You have your hands kind of everywhere.
Yes, I do.
He's also a chef. He lives on the water and he's Italian. Don't forget, they're the three most important parts.
I have a kayak.
And he has a kayak.
Yes, we do.
So what we learned before the show is Andy is adding a third stop to his trip to America, to New Jersey.
First stop, New Jersey, then New York, then Pennsylvania.
I mean, then you're hitting the entire tri-state area then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it would be good. I'm really looking forward to coming over. I just need to start booking stuff. I just need to do a quick update. I know, but it's an update to say we're not going to be doing any more updates on the guest stream. All updates are going to be pre-recorded and put on. I'm just going to do a little spin one in the afternoon and the morning whenever I get a chance and put it on there. So sorry about that, Frankie. I just needed to do that.
No
updates.
No updates.
So where are we starting? You want to start Parasite kind of at the beginning?
I guess I should tell them a little bit how I maybe got into all this, because that's a big question that I always get. So the way that I got into the paranormal field is when I started my work in behavioral mental health. That was about, I would say, about 12 years ago. And primarily I was working with individuals who had major mental health diagnoses. So we're talking about like schizophrenia, schizoaffective, narcissism disorders, a lot of behavioral stuff that cannot be controlled by medication. I mean, it can, but these are behavioral diagnoses. So a lot of it comes through therapeutic as well as pharmaceutical psychotropic medications. But when I was getting into the field and talking to people who were diagnosed with things like schizophrenia and schizoaffective, and I work throughout the entire state of New Jersey. So the fascinating thing for me. And I've always had an interest in paranormal, a big horror person. So it was always like in my part of my makeup. And they would tell me these very interesting stories about seeing things, hearing things, seeing family members, having these spiritual experiences. And I remember, like, maybe the first week on the job, I was shadowing somebody and we were sitting in the car, and they kind of say, like, how's, like, what do you think and all that. And at the end of the week, I said, this is going to sound really odd, but what are the chances that these people are not having a paranormal experience or some type of spiritual religious experience? And because modern medicine, science, especially here in the United States, we don't acknowledge paranormal events. We don't acknowledge the science behind it, or even like the parapsychological aspects of it. Because I'm like, there's people who obviously don't know each other from anywhere. They've never met. They don't know they even exist. But they have some very strong commonalities in their quote unquote stories or experiences. So that kind of led me into learning more outside of like watching ghost shows and Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, and really trying to understand the field of paranormal, because I wanted to see if there was any validation in what I was thinking, it being, outside of a diagnosis. But then it becomes a very interesting, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of situation in my field. People think it's trauma. People also want to kind of label it as psychosis. So how do we know it's truly psychosis if we're not factoring in the elements that it could be possibly, higher level being kind of experiences or skills that these people have that nobody else has, and the medical and science community labels them as being, having a diagnosis or schizophrenic or mentally unstable. So that led me into going on paranormal investigations. I went through some tour companies because we didn't have a team at the time. Went to locations and started really getting kind of swallowed up by the psychological stuff, like watching people in dark, creepy spaces, how they're reacting and what they're putting out, their emotional responses, their behavioral responses. And then I kind of course, got into like, when stuff happens, I could see why it inflates all this stuff. So I remember being at White Hill Mansion here in New Jersey, and it was a Halloween event, and just through a tour company. First time there, not my first paranormal situation, but where it kind of changed everything for me is there was a gentleman, guest investigator, and I was like on the second floor in what they call the creepy bathroom, and I could hear somebody yelling and screaming. So naturally, the worker in me kind of like wanted to respond. It was just like instinct. As I'm coming down the stairs, everyone's kind of around the foyer of when you first walk in, and I peek over, and there's a gentleman laying on the floor, saying that he's being pinned down by an entity. Of course, nobody could see it, so people were worried about medical issues, moving him in case he got hurt. There was a gentleman, I was standing on the stairs, there was a gentleman with an SLS camera, and I was standing behind him, and I could see the entity, massive, pinning him down both on his legs and his shoulders, and was floored. I've only seen SLS stuff on ghost shows, so to see it live in action, I was like in it. And so the night ended. The gentleman was okay, removed from the situation, and I was doing a podcast about like dark history and all this kind of stuff. So I wanted to do an episode on the experience. So I did some digging. because I'm not the type of person who likes to steal people's stuff, content, without asking for permission. So I did some research, found the gentleman on Facebook, posted the video of his SLS footage, reached out to him, asked to borrow the footage for the show. He said yes. And then we kept in communication after that. And I said to him, you know, like, what do you do? How do you get involved in investigations? And he was saying about the tour companies, which could be very, very expensive for people. And in my head, I'm always, I work with Nicole a lot. She could tell you my wheels are always spinning on how things could be done better and more efficiently. So I started looking up locations, and where they were charging us like close to $300 per person, I would find like a location. If you did investigation of 10 people, it would be like $50 a person. So I was like, I got to get this going in a different way. So I reached out to the gentleman with the footage, and I said, hey, I know we don't know each other, but what do you think about starting a team? Just for the simple fact that if we get 10 people, we can go into some of these bigger locations and not be like robbed of fees. So he said yes. And we've been in a partnership ever since that is phenomenal. We've become brothers. We don't always have the same agreement on things, but we collaborate and we understand what the other, we kind of put faith and trust in the other person when in their skill set that they're going to bring it to enhance the team. So we started Parasite during, I believe it was like 2000 and the end of 2000, the beginning of 2001, with a small group of people. Our first thing that we've ever done as a team was a private home investigation here in Toms River, New Jersey. We met there for the first time. We investigated for the first time, and the synergy was just amazing. So we're like, we need to keep this going. And then along the way, we've met people like Nicole at Full Moon. We've met people throughout the state of New Jersey and New York and Pennsylvania that kind of embraced us, took us under their wings, and we're like, let's do some collaborations. And we've taken every one of those experiences and have pulled the best out of them and added it to the things that we do well. And it just has caught fire since then. I think what makes it unique is that both founders come from a different background. So my partner, who likes to remain anonymous, is a New York City police officer. So he brings that logic, that reasoning, the structure of looking at what we're looking. We used to call it evidence. We no longer call it evidence because in his world of law enforcement, you can't say something is evidence unless you can prove that it is factual.
Yeah.
So we removed the word evidence, but captures, footage, things like experiences, that's what we tend to kind of like look at, and that he brings to the table. And then of course I bring all the parapsychological stuff, all the psychology stuff. So it makes us open to looking at things from different lenses, which and it led to opening or being a resident team at a theater here, the Ritz Theater, here in Haddon Township, New Jersey. So it's just yielded so much great opportunities for us to work with, great people, great teams, as well as bring some new innovative ideas and concepts to the field.
And I feel like especially recently, you guys have gone from like Team Parasite, you really kind of rebranded as the Parasite Experience.
Right. We started out as Parasite Investigation, but then we kind of quickly learned that for a lot of people, it's not like a who's done it or a Scooby-Doo type of situation. It's literally, and it doesn't always have to come from like technology or capturing stuff. It's the experience that people have, which is just as much of value than some of the tech stuff and the footage and the proving and debunking. that's what we kind of wanted to bring people, is that experience. Plus we got the theater residency, we do some other stuff. So it was just, we were doing more than just paranormal research. It was just then part of what we did. So we said, let's rebrand to Parasite Experience.
And this year you guys are doing podcasts. You and I are doing Lost Explorers. You have 2 episodes of your podcast?
I am doing a new take on my old podcast that I used to do about dark history. It's called Revealing the Unknown. So it's going to be talking about like dark history, true crime, paranormal stuff, forensic stuff, a lot of things that kind of leave a question mark over people's heads. So taking people down a rabbit hole, basically, of information that I'm finding on certain topics. Then, of course, we have Nicole and I are doing the Lost Explorers, where we're going to be doing some urban exploration of some places here in and around our area. We have a book club that's starting. We have another podcast from my partner called 6 Questions, where he will be having guests on the show asking a format of 6 questions that he'll always use to see what the responses of people, to have like a conversation in certain areas. A ton of stuff that we just released at the Ritz Theater that we're doing. A couple of special guests that I can't announce, but I am like so excited when this stuff drops, because people are going to be floored at the collaborations that we have coming into the theater. So, so there's a lot going on. I was just telling the gentleman who runs the Ritz Theater, had a meeting with him the other day, and was saying, like, I don't know what happened, but something right around the holidays, right around the turn of the new year, things caught fire. So the theaters caught fire. People want to come and do private investigations. People want to do collaborations with us. So it's really exciting that we can kind of take some of these creative children that we have, and now start putting them into, making them like reality, and putting them into the wheelhouse of what we do. So super excited.
So you're quite active.
And I have to do a shameless plug, because we've worked with Full Moon Paranormal. I do this a lot. I'm Italian. I talk about my hands. We worked with Full Moon pretty early on, and it was just a phenomenal relationship. And we found when we did investigations with them, the activity would be like all over the place. So now, when we work with each other, we have merged our names only when we work with each other to Paramoon. So it's partially Parasite, partially Full Moon. And we love working with them. So tons of stuff going on.
Wow.
Go ahead, Andy.
No, it's fine. Go on. I'm just taking it all in.
Jump into the Ritz, actually, because we were there for the Paris Summit that you hosted,
right?
And you were doing a really cool experiment with, or a therapy session. I don't know if you'd refer to it as experiment or a session with the light.
Yeah. So when I first started this, guys, I wanted to do everything. Like, my partner in Parasite is a electronics whiz. So I'm the type of person, like, if I don't know what the hell I'm doing, I want to learn about it. So he taught me how to build stuff, but I quickly found out that was not my wheelhouse, that I should just stay with what I know, and that's psychology. And so I wanted to bring some of the modalities in what I do, especially in trauma work with patients, to the paranormal field. Because a lot of the times we are exploiting trauma from spirit. We want to know how they died, or, how, all the gruesome details. Birth and death are the most traumatic events of your life. So there should be a certain way that we handle when we are asking spirit to divulge that. Just in the same that if I have a trauma session with a client or a patient, I can't just start poking at like all the deep-rooted war wounds of their trauma, and then at the end of the hour say, okay, the hour is up, have a good day. there is a way to
Yeah.
start our trauma session, a way to have it progress and close it out so that person doesn't leave your session with all these open wounds with no one there to help them address it. So I found that, a lot of the times that's what we do is we're like, tell us what happened. And then we maybe get a piece of information, the night ends, and then we leave spirit with that open. So you can imagine a larger location that has, investigations back to back to back to back. There's that poor spirit is not being able to communicate how tough that is for them. So I wanted to bring in a modality of trauma therapy, which is EMDR. It's bilateral stimulation, not hypnosis. So what bilateral stimulation does, and we use a variety of techniques. Some people may see bilateral stimulation. They may see tapping where people will tap or on their temples. There's also, we use a kind of like a light bar. It's almost like a metronome of a light that just goes back and forth. And what it does is stimulates that bilateral stimulation. So it almost mimics like you're in REM sleep. So when we're in REM sleep, we pull all that untapped stuff and trauma and all that stuff in the back of our brains. When we're in REM sleep, gets pulled to the front of the brain. That's why you have crazy ass dreams. That's why, you have all this vivid stuff going on when you're asleep, because it's happening in REM sleep. So taking that, you're able to pull the trauma slowly from the back of the brain to the front of the brain and reprocess those memories, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So when the trauma thought comes up or an experience comes up, their process goes a little differently. Rather than from anxiety or panic attacks, it'll slowly dissipate where they can actually manage trauma as it comes up. So I figured, let me bring that to the paranormal and see how it works with spirit. So yeah. I kind of rebranded it to parapsychological restructuring desensitization. So we've done it a couple of times. A lot of people, unfortunately, will not see the work that I do, which is difficult because a lot of what I do is person-centered. There's HIPAA, there's privacy rights. So just like I wouldn't film or go live and post a session with a client, it's against ethics. I feel like doing it in that capacity with spirit is almost the same way. So if somebody's in the room, it's generally people that I trust, that will be spectators rather than kind of getting involved in the session. So we've done it a couple of times, and so far it's been a phenomenal response. We get spirit that will almost respond, whether it be spirit box, mediumship, like they're in a therapy session. They'll say the words therapy. They'll talk about their feelings. I can say, well, how did this feel in the beginning of the session? Let's talk about it. Now, can we reprocess it? New imagery, new language. And it works. So I just find that, bringing those modalities into it really works. And I usually now do a form of light therapy to open up my pineal gland in the beginning of an investigation. Nicole knows, sometimes I'll say, I'm just going to dip away for 10 minutes, do my session, and I'll be back. I use what's called a neurovisor, which is a device that you kind of put over your face, you close your eyes, and it generates a pattern almost like of strobe lights, which will open up your pineal gland, hopefully opening up more intuitive, more connection. And I found since I've been doing that, I have been more connected with spirit and having better interactions with spirit. So I also will go into, especially a place like the Ritz where I have some time, where I can go in before an investigation and literally talk to spirit and say to them, hey, people are going to be coming in, they're going to be talking and asking you about your life, your experiences, trauma. It's okay if you want to respond. It's okay if you don't want to respond. You do it to your comfortability. And then at the end of the night, I will stick around before I lock up and have a closeout session with spirit to see if there's anything that I can do to help them sit with that for either to the next experience. Or theater is live, so there's staff there that has to deal with them. So that's kind of like what I love doing now in the field. Like sometimes I don't even take out equipment now.
I love it. It's so different.
Yeah.
I just
I've got two questions for you.
Sure, absolutely.
First one, so when you're doing the paranormal side to it all, what equipment that you use, what seems to work the best, or does it vary each time you do it?
For me and what I do, spirit boxes are tremendous because I'm not a medium, right? So I need a an intermedium piece to help me communicate, right? So spirit box is phenomenal. The digital voice experience, the digital seance that Ron and Lourdes do. They've done phenomenal work with us. Great way for me to get really clear communication with spirit. Those are the things, my go-tos in that type of modality that I will do because I need that communication piece. Then that's when I'm doing that work, and it's not just fun paranormal investigation. Those are my go-to.
Right. And the other question, I'll try and word it right. So when you're doing a session with a real person, have you ever encountered a spirit coming in the room at the same time while you're going through what it is you do?
Right, great question. So not probably in the capacity that people in our field would want to hear, but when I was doing a lot of work with people who have schizophrenia and schizoaffective, and they're seeing and hearing auditory hallucinations, sometimes for them it happens 24 hours a day, 365. So when you do training, like I had to go through, there's a training that you have to go through called Voices. So what they do is they give you an MP3 player. You have to keep the headphones on for 8 hours. And as you're going through your day, they have you do a battery of different things, like filling out a job application, having a conversation, watching a movie, doing all this stuff for 8 hours. And the experience that they have to go through is frightening. So normally in a session, those situations for people, they don't stop. So they're ongoing. So you can be in a session with somebody or talking to somebody. And back then I did community work. So I was going into people's homes and stuff like that. You can see them, they will start communicating with something else in the room. And again, the conversations, you can kind of tell when you're trained, what is psychosis. And a lot of the conversations were as if they're talking to like a loved one in the room. So almost back then, I wish I had things like K2 meters and digital recorders and things like that. I mean, that's unethical. But it would have been so fascinating to capture that for people.
To see what was being said and what was really happening.
Right, because they not only are they hearing things, but they're also seeing things. So, and it comes down to cultural competency. So there are many religions and demographics that this type of connection is higher level of being. Shamans, in certain practices, these are leaders in their community because they have these experiences. They're looked at, they're sought after, and in our culture, we look at it so totally different. So another thing, what I do is a lot of cultural competency. I can't walk into a situation with my own bias and put that on somebody else's experiences, their makeups, their religion, their ethics, their morals. You have to be open to understanding that and hearing those experiences. So in that moment, I may not have thought about the paranormal stuff, but now when I revisit and think about those, when if like being asked a question like that, it would have been fascinating to know this work back then, to have maybe a different type of conversation that these people haven't had, and in a clinical setting.
Yeah.
So another question about that, like you said before, kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you think that because these people are very open to paranormal experiences and maybe kind of a different level of consciousness, that gives them kind of the symptoms of mental illness,
Right.
or that we classify as mental illness? Or do you think because they have the mental illness and because their brain works differently because of that, they're more open to paranormal experiences?
Well,
just before you answer that, I'll put a question in which is very similar to what you just said.
Go for it.
Right.
Go for it.
I'll pop it on. So,
Okay, go ahead.
So, are you finding the majority of your findings that people are not delusional? It's really stuff happening, or it's mainly a mental illness at first thought? So it's very close to what you just said. Sorry.
Right. And to piggyback on that, I'm actually starting what I'm trying to do is a real, like, legit study on some of this stuff. So starting next month, I'm going to, not only do I do work with spirit, but I'm going to start doing some research on paranormal trauma that people have experienced. So working with people, getting stories and information and collecting data on stuff just like that. Because if we're going to make this stuff scientific, we have to, unfortunately, meet science where they're at right now, and that's all done in research, statistics, data. So I'm hoping that I can present some data I work for a major university here in New Jersey, big on research. So I'm hoping that I can present it to them where it can be taken seriously and find out more of that information. Because right now it's all based on feeling and experience, which is wonderful. But if it's going to prove or disprove, to talk about like what Nicole was saying, it's hard for me to say which came first. I kind of look at it like the way when people say to me, what comes first, substance use or mental health? Well, it's tough to say that, from a neurological brain perspective. If you're asking my opinion, I think it all stems from neurological. Your brain is the biggest conduit. So, and not everybody's brain is wired the same. Some of us, like for instance, I don't not disclose a lot because it lends to what I do. But I've had epilepsy since I was 10. I'm the only one in my family that has it. I have what's called AVM. So I have more brain vessels that are in one side of the brain. So it's always, I felt, has always lent to things like creativity and being open about different things. And I think that may be part of it. There may be some biological, neurological markers that lend to that experience for people. And it mirroring psychosis. And because we don't understand it, we always want to put people in a box, right? So it's easier for us to say that person has psychosis they're experiencing auditory and hallucinations because of psychosis. Let's not talk about what they're telling us about them communicating with a dead loved one. You know what I mean? Like, or a being from another realm or something, because it sounds so fringe to us. We discount it, you know? So it's super hard to like say what came first. My opinion is there's some neurological stuff going on that is opening people up to a different experience. Yeah.
I do have another question. I don't know
Sure.
if it's going to be ethical. Have you thought about doing some sort of MK Ultra experience, that experiment? So where you have someone who's willing, that's got a type of, say, mental disorder, that's willing to go in and go on a, I suppose, a paranormal investigation, obviously
Right.
all controlled, but with somebody like yourself who's more than qualified to do this kind of stuff, and put the two things together, and then obviously take the data and see what you come up with from that. Is that something that could be possible?
It is crossed my mind, Andy, so many times. The problem again with it is, like you said, ethics. So the paranormal and the paranormal parapsychological person inside of me, which is growing very rapidly, wants to do something like that. But then it becomes a conflict with my therapist, social worker, because I'm bounded by law, code of ethics. So I'm like, well, if I would, would I do that to a person that I'm working with, a living person? And then I start kind of like going back and forth with myself, because then I'm like, well, they're spirit. They're no longer here. They can't talk about, I'm posting their stuff, their deep, darkest experiences for people to see. But then I think quickly, they were and are still people that had experiences. So why treat them any different? I'm hoping that if some of the research that I do, at the end of it, where people start talking about this stuff and wanting to kind of get it out there, that we can unblind the study and use certain people's experiences. As far as me doing direct work with spirit, it's same way. I would love for people to sit in a session with me with spirit so they can see how it works. Because I firmly believe, again, I'm not a medium. I'm not trying to take away from mediumship or anything like that. It's not a skill that I possess. But in my field, there are certain levels of therapy where we will go in to a person who is what we call treatment resistant. They either don't want to do it, they just can't process it. We go in, break that down. So more specialized, like trauma therapists, can go in and do the real deep work. That's how I kind of look at this in regards to like mediumship. Me opening the door for them and saying, it is okay for you to divulge that information, and I'll be here for you afterwards. So the medium can go in and then start really pulling back those layers and making those connections, not only for spirit, for the people that are working with the mediums. So I'm hoping like I find some good stuff, Andy, that will lend to it. And people in I could tell you, people that I've interviewed and screened for the study, it's very difficult for them to talk about this. They will talk about with me personal trauma, drug addiction, mental health, but they shy. It's very hard for them because they're so used to people not believing them. So I'm hoping if these people feel comfortable about talking about it and disclosing it, we can unblind the study and then start looking at people who are willing to do that, and bring them maybe into a setting where they can just see how it works. More so for a fact, for me, from a clinical standpoint, it may make them feel better.
Well, one of the other reasons why I asked, sorry, Nicole, I know you want to do that question, but there's a GP on from the UK, from London a while back, and he does mediumship, and he'd started doing that with some of his patients. Obviously, he got permission from them to do it.
Right.
Obviously, saying again, he can't disclose anything of who they are and what went on, but he said it worked. Do you remember the guy, Nicole?
Yeah,
Ian,
I do.
Dr. Ian. Sorry, I can't remember his surname. Do apologise, but he was saying that some of it was working. Doesn't work with everyone, but it's kind of another step into helping them. Not suppose get better. Yeah. Rather than having medication and all that all the time, it's more of a mental status.
Right. So I think about that too a lot because I have this weird fascination with like exorcisms, like actual exorcism. And
right, I need to play the noise. I
love it.
There we go.
I love it. Because that technique is used from a psychological standpoint. So if somebody is experiencing those things, they may bring in an exorcist to perform an exorcism that really is not there to rid somebody of this spiritual experience, but give them comfort that there is a process going on to help them in their most time of need. So I think that would benefit people who are dealing with like a paranormal trauma to see that it's not like what we see on a ghost show. It's not all evil and malevolent, that there is just things that we can't explain. Communication, consciousness does not end when our physical bodies expire. And I think that would make people understand, be able to explain things in a way that they're experiencing to their clinical providers. But the medical community and scientific community sometimes is a detriment to a lot of things. Even within the medical community and mental health, behavioral health, there's a lot of stigma around this stuff, So I think that will come. I think that will come when more people are comfortable with it not being like exploitive to them, rather than people seeing it or on a macro level, because it may touch somebody else and change somebody else's lives. Hoping that that's the path that we're going down.
Yeah.
I was really surprised because I know you were looking for participants for your trial for dealing with paranormal-based trauma. I'm surprised you weren't like flooded with participants, but I guess just not a lot of people want to talk about it.
So doing research studies, it's all about the balance. If you want it's stuff that I can talk about. Overwhelming response from males, which I was surprised.
Wow.
I had to dig and dig and dig for females because I wanted to keep it. It's unfortunate because of gender roles now in research. It's like male, female, unless you start getting into like non-binary and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was shocked. I would have thought it was going to be the reverse. That because males are generally not apt to talk about trauma, their feelings, thoughts, and emotions, where females are a little bit more apt to talk about that stuff. That's why females are prevalent especially in the United States, in therapy and social work, because they have that empathy, that motherly kind of where people feel comfortable with them talking about their feelings, thoughts, and emotions. Men don't generally do that well. So I was pleasantly shocked, but then had to find some females that were willing to kind of lend to the study. But yeah, the beauty of social media, I don't have to tell you guys, is that you can market things to a niche demographic, and being able to tap into this realm, this world that we're in. Of paranormal made it a little easier, rather than just kind of like cold turkey and cold calling people and being like, hey, like, you want to be part of this out of the box study experiment. But yeah, so it's interesting. It's very, very interesting.
Do you think you being a male in the psychology field helped men feel more comfortable talking to you than they would to a woman?
I do. Because when we're working with somebody initially, not so much on a private practice level, but on an agency level, when they're doing an intake, before they start working with anybody, those are one of the things that we ask, like, are you more comfortable with a female? Are you more comfortable with a male? Most of the men, which were far and few between, were the minority, the males in the field of therapy and social work. I think part of that lens that comes from like being an empath, where we can tap into, we're not guarded, we're not shielded with an armor to not show people that we have feelings, thoughts, and emotions, that we're humans. I think that lends to, people wanting to open up, because it's all about comfortability. No one's going to want to open up to me if I'm not giving a vibe that it's okay for you to open up without judgment, and it comes with training. You got to kind of get rid of your own bias, your own judgment. We're humans, so we're naturally ready to jump on judgment. You know what I mean? It's just our makeup. And it takes training to kind of detach that from the work that you're doing, putting yourself outside of it and just being person-centered, focused on that person and their experience and what they're telling you. Yeah.
I can say from experience, Frankie does listen without judgment. From some of our conversations.
Well, Nicole and I have to be very, very careful when we have cameras running. Very, very careful. We tend to get into some very interesting, deep conversations about life and people. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. Frankie has to edit out like half his body cam footage.
Right. Or just toss the whole thing out.
Oh. That's one way of doing it, I suppose. So how did you find like being in like the what's the word? Like in the job that you do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't think what it's called. I know what you do, but
you could just general psychology.
Yeah, psychology. How doing that? How did you find then going out doing paranormal stuff and bringing the two together? Was it a struggle at first, or was it just fit together like a jigsaw?
No, it didn't. It didn't come didn't come naturally. It wasn't even a thought. I almost was like putting that to the side, taking that hat off, and just keeping a paranormal hat on. And like I said before, like I was trying to get more involved in other aspects and scopes that really are not what I do. Thinking that if I learn those things, I would be viable in the paranormal world. And it wasn't until like, I don't know, something just clicked and was like, I think it started when I really, I really want to go some places, but I don't know if it's appropriate for your show, your audience.
No, just do it. Just go.
Okay.
Just go.
So went through a divorce about 3 years ago, right? Very traumatic situation, and was processing it, just like anybody else was heavy, and a friend came by, was hanging out with me and said, I got an idea. Don't you guys in your field with trauma microdose like psychedelics? And I'm like, yeah, we do Spravato treatments, which is ketamine. We do microdosing of LSD now. We do microdosing of mushrooms. So he's like, well, what if I get some mushrooms? How do you think that you would feel? I said, I don't know. It's been a very long time since I did anything like that. But I microdosed it, and it kind of dissipated all that mess in my mind. And I feel like that helped me tap into some other things, because I totally believe in that kind of stuff. I know that's very taboo, very controversial in your field.
No.
But
I have another sound effect for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I feel like after that experience, my paranormal connection kicked in.
Yeah.
And that's what made me start saying, like, I need to be more intuitive about this approach and what I do best, what I do well, my life's work, my purpose that I feel that's in my life, and bring that into spirit. So that, I would say, maybe in the last year of doing this, that I really started wearing that hat all the time. And it's been working. Like, I feel connection to spirit. I feel that they're communicating with me more so from that part because of my approach to interacting with them, you know. But yeah, I really, it sounds really weird, but I do attribute it to microdosing mushrooms. I know it sounds bizarre, but it opens stuff up, that may have necessarily been closed, maybe because of what I do for a living,
Well, I suppose if you're doing that all day, every day, the last person you're going to think of is yourself.
Which we call it empathy burnout. You tend to, and social workers, doctors, we are like our own worst patients. So it's like, we don't practice what we preach. You know what I mean? Like, because we're so used to doing what you said, Andy, and it's separating, that we forget to bring it back and apply the things that we're doing with people for ourselves. So so I'm all into that. Like Nicole said, I do holistic therapeutic stuff too. So I do like singing bowls and meditation with people. And I am very much about opening like your third eye and your crown, because I think that it will yield better results in the paranormal field for people if they would be open to things that do that. I know from a chemical standpoint, people don't like that being done. But I find things like DMT, LSD, things like that help us strip away the barriers of like what society is telling us that we have to do and how to act. That strips that away, opens you up. If anybody out there has ever done a psychedelic, you're opened up to a totally different mindset of thinking and connection. And people frown upon it, and I'm going to cause some controversy here. A lot of mediums and sensitives that I work with are very against that, because they feel like it's almost like a cheating way to do the work. But again, bringing it back to cultural competency, you have Native Americans, you have people of Central American descent, that you think use in their daily practices things like ayahuasca, DMT, to connect to higher level of self-being. So why wouldn't we do?
It's all natural. It's not like you're buying shit off the street. It's all chemicals and God knows what in it. This is naturally grown.
Right.
And it's been used for thousands of years.
Because everybody who comes on tells me it makes you crap your pants and like puke.
Well, yes, but you have what I would say to that, if we're going to go down that road, is usually that comes from like an initial. Am I still there?
Yeah. Good.
That comes from those type of things. From my perspective, they're done over time. Right? They're not like, it's not like taking an aspirin and your headache goes away, right? Things like that, they happen over time. So initially, when you do something like ayahuasca, which, full disclosure, I've never done, it's on the bucket list, but if you're having a physical reaction to it, like pooping your pants, throwing up, you're purging out all that initial, what I call junk in your trunk. Okay, so you're getting you're getting, it has to purge out. It's like eating a ton of garlic and it's coming through your pores, or curry and it's coming through your pores. There needs to be a way for this stuff to expel from your body. So over time, doing things like ayahuasca, rope, things like that have been, like Andy said, that are natural. Our brain produces trace amounts of DMT. Okay, so to say you shouldn't be using psychedelics to do this work, everybody is 24/7, whether they think it's going on or not. You're producing things like adrenaline, dopamine, DMT, melatonin. That's why we take supplements for things like that. So why wouldn't we take a supplement that will increase our DMT, help us talk about like trauma? Let's keep it at that level, and then being used in areas like what we do, guys, to open ourselves up in a way that we may not even think that we can open up. And again, using that experience to bring in mediumship behind us to then take the information that we're connecting with and putting it together with what they do for like a more comprehensive approach to working with spirit.
Yeah. Right. Question before we go for a break. This is for both of you. Would you do an hallucinogenic substance before going out on an investigation?
I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love it. I would love it only because I guess if you've never done a psychedelic before, it sounds such of an illicit thing. But when you've done psychedelics before, it's not like doing harder drugs like cocaine or heroin or fentanyl.
No.
It's
Jeez, we're
more
having a party, Frankie.
What?
Jeez, we're having a party.
Listen, Nicole and I have this conversation all the time, and that's a big part of why I do the neurovisor light therapy before the sessions, because I want to open up. I want to increase that DMT.
Yeah.
You know, but that it's hard to naturally do that. So if I can take a substance that's going to open up that part of my brain where people generally don't overdose or die of a psychedelic drug, and put myself into that situation, I just, something in my heart of hearts that says that it would be like a life-changing experience for me, life-changing experience or experience for spirit. But because our community doesn't recognize that, I mean, how many times have you gone to an investigation somewhere and they're like, no drinking, no drugs or anything like that? I get it, because not everybody can handle it. But how many paracons you go to and there's alcohol being served and then there's an investigation? Right. So, you know, I would love to. Maybe I need to come over to your neck of the woods where it would not be so probably frowned upon for me to trip bald and then go into a paranormal situation. I would love it.
You need to come to the UK. Come to the UK. I can hook you up. You can get whatever you want. No, I'm only messing. I probably could actually, but it looks like Gettysburg is just going to be one psychedelic mass. Don't know. I don't have another word for it.
We told Adam Butler, the DMT guy, to come to Gettysburg.
He's back on in a few weeks, so Gettysburg is going to be like, it's going to be the new Woodstock, isn't it?
Oh my God. There goes my credibility out the door. They're like, all he does is he's really not a therapist. He's really not in psychology. He's just a guy who just takes psychedelics and is just making shit up.
Just a guy who wants to trip up.
See, but I've never done psychedelics. I've done other stuff in the past, but I have hallucinated from them. I'm going back like 20 years ago. But as you were saying, by doing them and opening your pineal gland, you are opening portals to other realms that your physical body cannot get to any other way.
Right.
That's what it is. And a lot of people are understanding it a lot more now, but
Right.
there's still a big mass of them that just don't get it.
Right. Stigma.
It's very
Because
true.
Yeah.
right, because it's stigma. What people don't know, especially with substances, is stigmatizing it. It holds people back from treatment and things like that. So I mean, not take away the psychedelics, but like psychotropic medication still has a lot of stigma to it. So even people who are schizophrenic, they don't want to take the medication because they feel like stigmatized. Same thing with like things like medication assisted treatment for people who are addicted to opiates. There's medications out there, but they won't take them because they're ashamed. The stigma is going to follow them, where people are going to be like, well, then you're not clean and sober if you're taking medication to, treat this stuff. So you got to fight the stigma, fight the system. And I'm all about stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I can't believe that first hour has shot by. That has gone so quick.
So quick.
Oh my
We're
God.
doing a 2-minute break.
Right. So 2 minute 19 in total. There is not a countdown, so you just have to count in your head. I've still not done it. I will do the new break video, I promise. I just got other things going on. Right. Dogs and stuff. Right. Anyway, so see you guys in just over 2 minutes. Get your questions in, and I think we should go feet first down this rabbit hole with our eyes shut. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sounds like your plan. Right. See you guys in just over 2 minutes.
All right.
And we are back. And
We
someone's
are.
had a costume change.
She's
Oh.
wearing our Paramoon merch.
Paramoon, designed by Frankie.
Nothing, because I've got no friends. So
Well, we'll
I
have
got
to send you.
nothing.
I'll send you some merch.
Oh, thank you.
I
That means
won't,
I
because you'll
definitely
never
have
get
to
there.
come over. Definitely have to come over to New Jersey and find an alleyway. Take the kayaks. Wink, wink.
Oh, I don't know what that implies. I'm going to come to New Jersey and find an alleyway.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what I was thinking towards the break. I'm like, how inappropriate was I bringing that stuff up? They're gonna get demonetized.
Wait, do you know what though? I don't care. It's
Okay.
not about that. It's about it. Well, I do care because it helps with the channel, but I'll fingers crossed, touch wood and all that. I get limited availability on Google Ads. That's it. Which I
Gotcha.
probably make about 30p a year from that anyway. So what's the point?
We talk
Right.
about
Right.
psychedelics on here very often. So
Good.
We've
Okay.
we've done it quite a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Brandon Thomas. He was on Wednesday. So
Yep.
he's the one who kick-started it all, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah, and then Wednesday we were also talking about physician-assisted suicide. So lots of interesting topics.
And then when the flying things with propellers and all that were over your neck of the woods, we was talking
Andy,
about dirty
what's your
bombs. We may as well just put every word out there and just get shut down now. What do you reckon?
By the time you get here, Andy, it's all going to be over with. I'm so disappointed.
No, it'll be good. It'll all be good. So it's fun. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes,
right. So the
Jumping
rabbit
right
holes that were down, straight back
Mm-hmm.
in. So when I asked the question before about bringing an experience in from someone with a mental illness and them being fully wanting to go down a paranormal route, would there ever be a way that you could do that on a private level rather than working for a government sector?
Right. Well, mostly all of that stuff that I do in that realm is all kind of like, I wouldn't say breaking new ground, because I don't think what I'm doing is that innovative, that nobody else out there is doing it. But that is something that, we would call it exposure therapy. So putting people in situations that otherwise would create trauma, exposing that, because we feel like you can't get through trauma without addressing it. So
sorry, I've just had another idea. How about them? If we're going down these deep dark rabbit holes, I'm just going to go for it.
Go for. I love a deep rabbit hole. Would that sound so bad? That sounded so bad. Oh my god!
He's really going to meet you in an alley.
I had an answer for that, and I thought, no, just shut up now. Right? Would you know of anyone who would be prepared to go through some low-level trauma to then go through the process of what you do and bring the paranormal into it? Because I'd be up for that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a friend that maybe, like, he's going to be part of the trial, but not really, because I try to keep it with people who I don't have an experience with, so it takes out that bias. But we've been talking about him coming because he's been having paranormal experiences since he was a child. He's probably in his late 50s now, and it hasn't stopped. He's been really interested about coming to the Ritz, and I was thinking about having him come, maybe just when the team is there, when there's not the public or private investigation, and having him kind of just see what it's about, because stigma. I think with paranormal entertainment in Hollywood, people are afraid to have interactions with spirit, so that deepens the trauma. So and I think the Ritz is a really good place to do it, because the spirit we have there is generally gentle, nice, loving. They love the theater, so it probably would lend to that type of environment that you're talking about. Bringing them to a Penhurst is not going to do well, because it's an old mental asylum. You know what I mean? It has to be. It has to be the right conditions, the right environment. Again, because you don't want them to leave the investigation or that experience. Like we want them to be exposed to trauma, but we don't want to recreate the trauma for them. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it'd have to be somewhere, I suppose, neutral,
right?
Or not
right.
non-common ground.
You have a pretty cranky guy at the Ritz, though.
We do. But for the most part, I think because it's a theater, because it's an operating theater, it's not like a condemned, or closed down theater. It just brings, and it's theater, right? So people like are comfortable in that. They tend to, like, when they're in theater, let go of their inhibitions, put themselves into places and settings and times. But we'll have to test it out. You got me thinking, Andy. I may have this friend, try to explore that if he comes to the theater,
Yeah.
It wouldn't,
but you know what?
I wouldn't tape it.
Sorry, go on.
As much as I would like to, let people see that experience.
Well, would you not do it for your own reference, so you can go back and go, right, well, this happened and this happened, and then for you 100%. Then to go, if you used to do it again, right, we'll keep it exactly the same, or we'll do this a little bit different, or we can change that. But we'll do everything else absolutely spot on, and let's see what results we get. Right. It would be just like, any other study or trial. You know what I mean? Like about the conditions, the variables, the screening of the person, if they're, appropriate for something like that. I probably would do, if I wanted to do something like that, if I'm thinking kind of out loud, I would probably want to do some like in-person, outside of that setting, initial trauma work with them, and then bring them in maybe for an hour, then maybe for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like just over time to see if they can, quote unquote, digest it. You know what I mean? And filter it properly and it not lead to anything else residual. I may have to, Andy got me thinking, Nicole. Yeah, but here's another one now then. So would you be prepared to do it yourself just to see how it all goes? Or would that not be something you could do? Because obviously the profession that you're in, and then with the paranormal, maybe that could take over and stop any trauma from happening because you kind of know how to get out of it. I have always been the type of person that, even in the work that I do, so I'm an experiential person. So I would never say to you guys, oh, why don't you do paranormal stuff? Why don't you go to a paranormal investigation if I didn't do it myself? So I would 100% put myself through the battery of it all. Same thing like when I do work with people, I have learned things like knitting, playing the ukulele, art, like all this kind of stuff, because it helps me. If I learn that from that person, it helps me kind of break down walls and communicate with them better. So if I put myself through that process, like you're proposing, and I can flush it out, how the process would work. Right. So you kind of become part of them or part of their upbringing, should we say? Yeah. Right. Yeah. I have no problem being patient one. Yeah. Patient number one. I like that. I like that.
I love that. I'm just picturing you like sitting on a couch, like learning to crochet. Where you're like, oh, tell me about this. Because just like anything, people want a human connection, right? They want to know that they're having that experience, which is difficult. My field, the shape of it is changing, because in the past, clinical meant no disclosure of personal experiences, anything. It was kind of like that generic response. Well, how does that make you feel? And let's explore that feeling. Where now the field is shifting a little bit, because there are more people with experience. Things like mental health recovery and substance abuse recovery are now in those roles, so we can make that connection with somebody.
And same thing with spirit, you know. They want a safe place to communicate. Another thing that I think about all the time is when people are saying in the field, the paranormal, like they talk about evil and all that kind of stuff. You know, my scientific social worker, therapist brain kicks in, and you know, those concepts are not scientific concepts, good and evil. They're religious, spiritual concepts. So it's subjective, right? I also say, and Nicole has probably heard this, we say this a bunch of times, you know, we talk about spirit throwing things and scratching and pushing and all that kind of stuff. We'll associate that to a 2-year-old who cannot communicate verbally. They will throw things, they will hit, they will scream, they will stomp, they'll do all these things because they are frustrated that they can't communicate to people. I look at spirit the same way.
Yeah, but with you saying that, I've just thought of something. So if you go to these mental asylums, how many of these patients were unable to communicate verbally? Because there would be a lot. So their way of communicating would be to knock something, push something, bang, make a noise. So that it's going to be the same thing. So, like you said about poltergeists and the slamming cupboard doors and pots and pans, it's to get your attention. Whether they're messing about and they're doing it for a laugh or they're doing it they're getting your attention for a reason. What's going on.
And I never will speak in absolutes. So I would never say that those things, good, evil, malevolent, demonic possession, and all that stuff, again, cultural competency. If that's part of your belief system, then who am I to say that that's not really what's going on, right? So, but to look at it from a different perspective, again, the therapist, why is spirit so upset? Why are they good? Why are they evil? There has to be a reason for them to respond that way or interact or create a space where they can do something evil and malevolent to somebody. There's generally because there's a reason.
Yeah, it might just be because they don't want you there. They're trying to literally scare you out there. It's like, get out. This is my place. Don't. What are you doing?
Right. They can't politely say to you, I don't want you here.
Yeah. Leave a note and stick it under your screen wiper. Can you please leave and stop parking here?
I want to know if you remember.
I can't see it.
Oh, Grandizer says, Frankie, do you remember me? Frankie, do you remember Howdy Frankie Adao?
No, I don't. Maybe it's all the DMT and mushrooms. I don't know.
No, it's a song. The Party Sisters, isn't it?
It's a song.
A song?
Do you not remember? I'm not.
Obviously not.
Do not get me to sing, please.
Do it. Sing it. Sing it.
I have no idea, and I'm a music lover, so I'm like thrown off right now.
Frankie, do you know who Andy saw not that long ago and he was dancing to and he was so reluctant to see?
Who?
ABBA.
Andy. We'll have to take Andy to Gimme Disco when he comes.
Mm-hmm. He has an ABBA wig.
Yeah, but
like the Swift 70 Bob. That's phenomenal.
The long blonde one,
I can't play it all because of copyright.
No, I don't. No, wait. They responded. I can't read it though.
It was. That's who it was. Yeah, but I didn't buy the wig to go to ABBA. It wasn't like full-on madness. I already had this blonde wig. I bought it a few years back, and then our social circle was like, "Oh, we're going out to a place called the Picture Dome down the road from where we live. There's an ABBA tribute band." I'm like, "Really?" Because I went to a Rod Stewart one years ago, and I wanted my money back. It was awful. I mean, it was really terrible, right? And anyway, I went to this one. absolutely wrecked. Singing, dancing, one of the best nights I've ever had.
Well, you're
So that
you're
was
you're
it.
you're that whole world is a love of mine. I go to this religiously. It's an event called Gimme Gimme Disco, and it's an ABBA based disco like big dance
Yeah.
party where people dress up and stuff like that. So much fun. So much fun. Yeah. You got to balance it
Yeah.
out. I'm a social worker and
Well,
therapist. I deal with some heavy stuff. I got to go, release some stuff, that I can't do in a paranormal. I have to,
well, me and Bet
balance.
was sat downstairs. We was looking at watching a film, and she's like, "Well, what do you want to watch?" I'm like, "So we're flicking through anyway. Rocky Horror. I'd recorded it a while back. Rocky Horror Picture Show." I'm like, yes. She goes, "Well, been together 6 years. Like, well, do you like this? Well, it's one of my favourite films. Me and my mate used to watch it all the time. Put it on." And we're like, yeah, it was.
I love
It was
Rocky
good.
Horror.
It was behind closed doors, so no one could hear me singing.
Another shameless plug. Another
Yeah,
shameless plug
but
talking about Rocky Horror.
such
In
it's such a good
October.
movie. How it's written.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, go
I
on.
mean, no, I was just gonna give another shameless plug to us and the Ritz Theater.
Oh
So
yeah.
in October, we do combo nights at Show and Spirits night at the Ritz. So it's you buy a ticket, you get to sit and see the show, and then afterwards, when the theater clears and the lights go down, we investigate. We are going to be doing Rocky Horror Picture Show in October, a combo night where you go see the live production of Rocky Horror by the cast, and then when the theater empties out, we're going to investigate post Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Ooh.
And, what role are you playing, Frankie?
I will not be participating as a cast member, even though I really, really want to, but I think it would be blur the lines a little bit for the guests, seeing me in like drag and then coming out of it and saying, let's go
it would have
Sunday.
to be Frank and Berta, wouldn't it?
Well,
It
yes,
couldn't be anyone
that
else.
is, full disclosure, I do have to say that's always been on my bucket list is to.
I'm coming to that 100%.
So every time I do a podcast, the more and more I realize I'm in the wrong country.
You are.
I say the same, but I say the same, Andy. I say the same thing all the time. I'm in the wrong country.
Really?
You would need a permit to go kayaking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Or fly a D word.
It's cheaper for me to get my visa to go to the US than it is to get a permit to kayak in the UK. Right, it's stupid, isn't it? But that's where it is. Right. We have got a load. Yeah.
Frankie, what are you drinking?
Oh, I don't know if I could say it without getting,
Yeah, just go for it.
Just say it.
It's called Sparkling Ice, Coconut Pineapple, Zero Sugar. It's just like a sparkling water. Nothing else. It's no DMT. There's no psychedelics in this bottle.
Are you ready for
Unfortunately.
what I'm on? Sambuca and
yes.
I hate Sambuca.
I love it. I didn't know it was that type of party.
Oh, every weekend. Every weekend.
What are you drinking, Nicole? Crown Royal? What is that?
Water,
this is Sambuca. I hate it. Andy made me drink it.
I like Sambuca.
I keep a bar by my desk.
So last summer we did a podcast, Sambuca shots, and I was ill. I was like, I never ever took. Every time I looked at the bottle, I give it a dirty look because of how ill it made me. But now it's my go-to drink.
Yuck!
I love it.
It's
so nice.
So full disclosure, I am not a drinker. I don't drink anymore.
No.
Again, I'm gonna put my shit out there, but I am 420. I am 420 friendly, like there's nobody's business. So
I think there's a lot of people that are.
Well, yeah. It's funny because now, since it's recreational in most states here in New Jersey, I check drug screenings for my job, and I laugh all the time because I say cannabis THC is now in people's system like I would check for glucose. Everybody has it. Everybody. Even the 90-year-old grannies and grandpas, they are token away.
It's for their glaucoma, okay?
Right. No judgment. So next time, while you guys are doing shots of Sambuca,
Not me.
don't be surprised.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
should
cool.
watch Andy do a shot of Fireball. That's
Oh
funny.
God! Oh, fucking awful! Never touching
No.
that shit again. It
No.
was rancid. No. I'd never drink again and then touch that.
Yeah, some booze
So.
company sponsor this channel, please.
Right.
Yeah. Please.
They need
Right.
sponsorships. This is a great show. Whoever's out there listening and watching.
Oh, Italian.
Well, everything should be Italian.
I agree.
Since 1868.
I want to say even Sambuca is Italian. Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of
it is.
Italian people drink it, but I don't know if it's necessarily Italian.
I think it is Italian.
We'll just say Nicole is
thought it was-
Italian.
I thought
Sambuca
it was
is an
Spanish.
Italian and flavored liqueur,
There you go.
which is
With-
why it's even worse. I don't like it.
Hey.
But
Oh.
And I'll tell you, like,
oh, sorry, go
I
on.
would. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Mark Anderson's just come in on the chat. Now, he's part of Scottish Paranormal Podcast, and he does a very similar job to what you do.
Nice.
oh,
So,
I gave him your contact information.
My contact information?
Yeah, remember I messaged
I think
you.
yes. I think I
Pat.
Pass along.
I got a message saying party at Frankie's. That was all I got.
Oh, yeah. Party at Frankie's.
Yeah.
listen.
No, nothing
I-
to do with me.
I'm not, against a good party.
Mhm.
There we go. It's called opening doors without DMT. There we go.
Right. I mean, not all of us can expand our minds without,
Yeah. It
You
just
know.
needs a little
little
You need to push.
tickle, a little tickle, should we say?
a little tickle. I love that. Just a little tickle.
That's all you need. Then
Yeah.
let's go. That's it.
Your third eye needs like a contact lens.
Yeah.
So
So
we
I've
can
got.
see clear.
I don't know if you've seen that, Frankie. One of my tattoos.
I can't see it. Is that the all-seeing eye?
That's like the Egyptian eye.
Right.
The eye of Horus, and
Right.
it's the same as the pineal gland, same shape and style, and so.
And there's fascinating books, data, artifacts that they have collected from ancient civilizations, like
Mhm.
hieroglyphics and stuff, showing literally people what the thought is that they're doing psychedelics, like smoking pipes, and then you'll see like them smoking the pipe, and then the next figure there's like rays coming out of their head. So they've been doing that. They've been doing microdosing at some level for eons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or macro dosing.
Or macrodosing.
They're
You know.
dosing.
So-
Unlimited dosing depends, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And why would
Yeah.
we turn our faces to something? I mean, I guess the jury's out on who built the pyramids and stuff, like if you go there, but let's just say it was the Egyptians. Very, very forward thinking for the time. Where did they get these concepts? And
They
then
did a
you
lot
look at
of And then they
you
built
look-
pyramids.
right, you look at the hieroglyphics and you see them, portrayed as drinking, eating, smoking something, and then there's this awakening. So, yeah. I mean, how
Yeah.
can we communicate with something from a different realm? Let's say spirit, another dimension, with a modern mind that is so locked in barriers and boxes that the minute that we start thinking that way, you're ostracized, you're again labeled mental health, or you tell them, oh, I'm doing I did DMT or I did LSD, now you're a drug addict. You know what I mean? Like there's all these labels that people will put on you when you're an outside of the box thinker.
But because the more you're outside of the box, the less they can control you.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think for the most of us in the paranormal field, we beat our own drum. We think a little differently. Our views on things like science and spirituality and all that kind of stuff, we're more open to it. Even those that are like stringent skeptics, you can't be a skeptic if there's not a little belief that that what you're kind of trying to debunk is in fact maybe possibly real. If there wasn't that, then you wouldn't debunk. You know what I mean? So I would think we need to, in this field, just like we do in the medical field, need to be opened up to, for lack of a better term, to doing some of these things that we can move outside of ourselves. The goal is to connect with spirit, not to, and it shouldn't be rigid. It should be fluid. It should be experimental. You know what I mean? So,
but here's
that's
a question
then.
And here's another contradiction in the paranormal field. I'm going to use that term very, not loosely either, quite tight. So we're trying to communicate with these spirits from days gone by, and we're using modern electronic equipment that a lot of them would probably never even know existed, or even the blueprints for that exist. So what would it not be worth our while to scrap all that and just use the most basic of tools, i.e. dowsing rods?
Right.
Or just sit there and wait and listen and see what you can get from what's going on around you. Because it does contradicts itself.
Right, it does. It does. I've learned a lot about that from my partner in Parasite. He has a really good balance of the two. That, you know, because when you initially come into the paranormal field, automatically your thoughts are ghost shows. I mean, if anybody says that it's anything different or Hollywood, that's where we all started. We quickly learned that it wasn't that way, but you want to put a K2 meter in your hand. You want to put a digital recorder in your hand. You want to put a cat ball. You want to do all that stuff that you see on TV. But then and that was me when I first started. And then my partner was like, there is a balance. All of that spiritualism stuff, dowsing rods, pendulums, even Ouija, they were used in a time where spirituality set the precedent for what we do now. So I'm from the firm belief that, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why is a spirit from the 1800s is not going to be probably willing and open and comfortable to communicating when we're saying, speak into this device where the red light is, speak into the device, or trigger that ball. If you move the ball, it's going to light up all these colors. In their time, that would do the total opposite.
That black magic. Yeah, witchcraft. It's like, what the hell? It's like, it's just must be so overwhelming for him. But also not just that, but because they now say they do know that they are not alive anymore, it's like, well, how? I don't even know what these things are. How am I supposed to do it? So, all right, you saying it, it's like me saying to you saying to me, go in that plane and fly it to, I don't know, Texas. Well, I don't even know how to open the door on it. How am I going to get it off the ground?
Right. I'm not even. I'm not
And
even
that's
going to go near that plane because it's foreign to me. It's what do you mean that thing flies in the sky? The only thing I know that flies in the sky are birds. You know what I mean? Like, we need to, I think, put more of the emphasis on those techniques. I have done a quite significant reduction in technology that I bring to an investigation. Even sometimes this stuff, the little that I do bring, I don't even take out. I'll wear a body cam and that's it.
Yeah.
But mostly I am now tapping into that intuitive part of what I do for my work, my life work, for what I do with the living, and applying it in that fashion. Like, I just found that I get more of an experience with spirit connection wise when I just put all the tech down.
Yeah. But what if we was to then still use the tech, but just like put the voice recorder down, put the K2 meter down, throw some cat balls in and leave it, and don't say anything, don't mention what they are, have cameras pointing at them or other team members in the area keeping their eye on it, and while you're doing your I'm going to go there, is there anybody there routine, because that's what it is really, isn't it? So while you're doing that, let's see what's going on with all this different tech without you having to say, can you get that K2 meter to light up to red? Can you push that ball across the floor? Can you make this light up? Can you make a sound into this machine? They're going to be like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right. We could curse. We could curse.
Yeah. Curse all the time.
Oh shit! Yeah. Why didn't you guys tell me sooner, Nicole? You know I have a potty mouth. He said he dropped the F-bomb, and I'm like, wait a minute. You know how many times I reeled it in before because I didn't think we could use that type of language.
We can't.
I used to, but Sambuca.
You have like 24 minutes to make up for all the F-bombs you missed.
Yeah, right. I don't know. So from different perspectives, looking at that question. So yes, I think they would be more comfortable in doing that, and I don't think that there's harm in putting stuff out to capture that, because then again, it's like I said, you need to find the data. You need to find the stuff that you can look back at, and from a scientific standpoint, that's not always anecdotal, But then I think, as Andy was talking, Nicole, about that, what came to mind is when we were at the 1890s house and we were downstairs in the basement in the seance room, the first time we were there, and the activity that we got on equipment was probably the most mind-blowing that I've ever experienced personally. Off the charts. And if we didn't have that, we may not have gotten any interaction. So I think it's maybe more environmental, time frame wise, you know what I mean? Like, I think there needs to, again, be that balance.
Yeah.
And
also, in person, I feel like, I don't know how you feel, but like, I don't think you would use the same approach to therapy with every single individual. No. You don't always use the same approach to spirit. Right.
You gotta, we call it, from that, we can coin some new terms in the paranormal field that we use in the psychology world, and it's we say it's person-centered. So you're right. I would not. There's some basic foundations that are used for everybody, but you have to treat people like individuals. We're individuals. Where our makeups are different. Things should not be cookie cutter approaches. You're not going to get engagement. You're not going to get progress with somebody. So same thing with spirit. Know your audience. We're not going to communicate with vaudeville day, era people at the Ritz, and talk about like try to associate like something like with Kinky Boots. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to get it. Or Rocky Horror, they're not going to get it. So you got to do like what we do, play like vaudeville music and all that kind of stuff.
Quickly, you just said about Kinky Boots. That musical is about Northampton, where I live, because Northampton is known for making shoes and boots. True story. Thank you.
And another shameless one. We're also doing a combo night for Kinky Boots at the Ritz Theater.
Do they know about the show? Yeah, do they know about the show that just went on though? Like if it just played, they know about that performance?
That is my belief in working with the theater. And prior to being in this field, I've always done creative stuff in some arts capacity. So before this work that I do in psychology, I was a chef. Before that, I worked in performing arts. So I think that where we've had mediums come into the theater and say, I'm getting something about fire or murder or this and that. Well, it's a historic landmark. We have the historical record from the day that the Ritz the ground broke on it to present day. We work with the historical societies there. There's never been a death there. There's never been a fire there. The only thing of incident that happened was a partial part of the ceiling fell when nobody was in the theater. So when we get those type of feedback from either investigators that are catching things or mediums, I tend to tell them, well, this is a performing arts theater, a live working performing arts theater. Spirit does not know that they're watching a show. So they may take on themes of the content that's being played. Like for instance, and that's why we do the combo nights is one, because what we do at the Ritz, we don't make any money off of it. It's our philanthropic work that we do because of me, my co-founder, his wife, huge performing arts people. So we give back. It's 100% goes back to the theater. So doing those combo nights, we found that after a live performance, the activity intensifies because, and especially like Nicole said, based on content. So we're doing Kinky Boots for more of a lighter type of experience with spirit, but we've done Dracula. We're doing a show this month called Angels in America, which is about the gay community during the height in the 80s of HIV and AIDS. So the characters are ghosts and angels. So we kind of tend to stay in that realm because we feel like ambiance, right? We tend to feel like they take on messages and we get activity that way. Do we get activity when there's no show? Yes, but it's super intensive when we are post-show.
But surely though as well, they're going to be enjoying and watching what's going on because, like you said, before the passing, they was human and they would have liked watching or being entertained by that kind of stuff anyway.
Right.
So it's still part of who they are, whether they're energy, spirit, whatever they are. That's non-relevant to what it is. They're gonna enjoy it, and that's why I think it will bring more activity from their energy because it's part of them when there's a life.
Right, and we actually have some spirits that we can't trace back through historical records. Being it's a theater, we have tons of like advertisements in old newspapers from the 1920s up to present day, playbills, things like that. That some of the actors and things of that nature didn't get notoriety. But we have a spirit. I'm not going to mention her name because when people come, like Andy said, there's some people that want to come and, experience it without knowledge. So I won't disclose names, but there is a spirit that we communicate with, what we call one of our resident spirits. She performed there when she was a youngster, 14, during the vaudeville days. She attended the theater later in life. She died in like 2001 or something like that. And we can trace her actually going back to see shows as an adult. She loved the theater. So generally, we find that most environments like a theater, because people love it, that's why they're there. That's why they stay there.
Question came
right,
in a
quick
bit
question.
earlier.
I'm going to put you right. No. I've got to do a question quick before you do these, please.
Okay. Okay, do it. I just
a
wanted
quick
to
one.
do
So
that.
I'm gonna. No, that's fine. Then you can do all the questions. I promise you. Right. So I'm going to put Frankie on the spot. You can say no. You can say yeah. You can tell us to F off. You can leave the studio now. Whatever you want. It's entirely up to you. Would you like to come back on the show in the near future? And would you like to come on with Mark Anderson? So that's a guy from Scottish Paranormal Podcast who is in the same line of work as you, but also in the paranormal. He's been on here twice. I know his friend Chris Meek, he's on here in a couple of weeks. But if I can fit you in and do some shimmying about, if I can get you and Mark on together, and then we can have a full explosion of psychoanalysis paranormal.
I would love it. I would 100% love it. 100 to be able to talk, for him and I to be able to talk about the like situations that happen. Maybe he won't feel like like a man on his own island, and I won't, because it's nice to know that there's somebody else in the field that is trying to correlate some of this stuff for people and for spirits. So 100%.
Excellent. I'm glad you said that, because I've already asked Mark and he put would love to, mate. So I've already kind of arranged it, so you couldn't say no even if you wanted to.
I mean, he could have. It just would have been really awkward for the next 15 minutes.
Nicole can tell you, Andy. There's I don't hold back any punches. It's a seize what you get type of guy. And if I didn't want to, I wouldn't even be on here right now. You know what I mean? But I love your guys' show. I love your format. I love the fact that you're talking not only about paranormal stuff, so the stuff like what we do and Matt does. You know what I mean? And being open to hearing that perspective of things. I think your show is, beyond being super fun, is informative and important for people to hear a range of thoughts that can be applied.
You don't have to butter us up.
Well,
he does.
I probably wouldn't.
Keep going.
Even if there was hesitation, I probably, as soon as we were done, would get a call or a text or an inbox from Nicole saying, "You're fucking coming." So just make it work, okay?
Yeah. Now, because obviously I'm reading you as you're talking, and obviously you're friends with Nicole, and I've only spoke to Mark. I spoke to Mark on messaging, but he's been on the show a couple of times. I know Chris, the guy that he works with, I've known him for a few years now, and everyone seems to be kind of like on the same page. So I thought it'd be a perfect fitting. I know people in the chat are going to love it. They've already put in stuff up saying, "Yeah, that'd be perfect," so on and so on. So yeah. I would love read it, and I'm glad I read it the right way and not just made some shit up in my head and thought, please let it work. So
would love it.
Excellent. Excellent. Perfect. Right. We do have some questions before Nicole starts shouting at me.
I do not shout.
Right, Nicole, before you start going on with questions, did you ever tell Andy about what we did at Burlington Prison with Kale?
No, I don't think so. I did.
We should tell him. So you tell him.
We went to Burlington jail, prison. What is it?
County jail. Yeah. Yep.
Burlington County Jail. And there's all kinds of like graffiti on the wall, and there was a phone number. So us being the completely unserious investigators that we are, I have my 15-year-old son.
Yeah.
We whip out the phone and then we call it.
Oh, like even I wouldn't do that. I would, but I'd grab somebody else's phone and do it off theirs. They ain't getting my number. Who answered?
Nobody answered.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Yeah,
I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I wanted to see who would answer the phone.
Yeah.
But what would you have done if somebody answered? Was you ready? Was you prepped? Or was
I
you
think we were like, I think we had it on speakerphone. So we were ready for somebody to answer and be like, we're at a for lack of a better term, a haunted prison, and your number is on the wall. So we called it because why wouldn't we call it? Your number is there.
It's better than calling a number from a bathroom wall. Like,
right.
Well, you know what? Have you heard the joke about that? It's more of a meme. It's like, that was an awkward conversation. Sharon is not up for a good time. So whoever wrote a number on the toilet door is lying.
That's great. That's great. I may have to do that the next. I may have to do that the next time. The next time I'm in the bathroom and I see a number, and it says like call Sharon for a good time. I'm gonna call Sharon and be like, Sharon, are you good time Sharon or not good time Sharon? Because if you're not, I'm gonna just scratch your name off the wall.
Don't waste my time. I'll move on to the next number. Let's
go. Right.
But
we recorded it. There's a video of that somewhere.
Right, you ready? Do not judge me on this, right? But when I first started doing the YouTube channel, I wanted to get it picked up and get people to subscribe and all that. I had some business. Oh, wait, no. It's probably worse than that. So I used to I had business cards printed, yeah, and I had a SIM card, pay-as-you-go SIM card, because I wasn't giving them my normal number. So you could put 2 SIM cards in the phone, whereas now you can get up to like 8 eSIMs. So it didn't matter. It was just a number that I could get rid of. So I used to, I can't believe I'm actually saying this out loud, right? I used to leave the card in service station bathrooms.
Oh, that's great. Well,
so it's like equivalent to a calling card. Used to get, but I used to leave them lying about, and then the subs would start going up. I'm like, it might be working. I don't have any physical evidence, but I've left about 6 cards in there, and I've got like 4 subscribers in a week.
Listen,
want to know if it's because your OnlyFans venture didn't take off.
But I've not finished.
Oh God, it's worse.
So another place so if I pulled into a lay-by and there's like a bin or bushes, I'd put it in the bushes and the branches. So if you pulled up, you could see it'd be like eye level. That is a true story. I've actually got photographic evidence of it. So,
well, to go back to what you were saying, Andy, when you said, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this, that is what you experience when you got a therapist on your show. We know it's called we call it motivational interviewing. So,
well,
oh my God.
Oh, I need to go and lie down now. I think for about 10 years.
I'm gonna start leaving full moon cards like in the bathrooms at gas stations now.
Do it.
Parasite, yeah.
Might work.
What
I did. Sorry, go on. I'll tell you.
No, I was just going to say that's a wonderful idea because I've been like racking my brain about how Parasite Experience can get more subscribers. So I think I'm going to start leaving business cards in bathrooms and hope for the best.
But I'll do it in the actual cubicle.
Call Frankie. What's a good time? It's an investigation at the Ritz.
But there was one particular service station. And I thought it was a bit of a laugh. I just kept putting them in there. But if I wanted to, I just put them in just for a laugh. But I'd always do it when it was busy, so it could be anyone doing it. But they probably worked out it was me from the CCTV. After about the 10th time of me doing it. But anyway.
It's all about, it's live outside the box, Andy. I love that idea.
That's marketing right there.
Well, I'm still here, and it seems to be working all right. So
there you go.
Wasn't negative. There we go.
I imagine like the manager be like, we have to find this guy. Who is he? Like going back to the camera.
Well, they could have found.
Investigation.
They could have found. They could have gone to the website. They could have emailed anything. No, nothing. Nothing like that. But I got subscribers, so
that's it. That's what it's about.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah. Don't drink on a podcast with a therapist. It's not good. Not when it's going out live.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Anyway.
Yeah. Listen. Not a therapy session, so we can go live with this because it's not a therapy session. I just know how to get. Good. I just know how to get people to spill the beans. I know. I'm pretty good about that.
Yeah. I can attest to that.
Yeah,
I've told Frankie so much.
Right. Right. So we have. Sorry for taking the time up, but we've got 5 questions and we've got 2 minutes. What do you reckon?
Rapid fire.
I'm ready.
8 minutes.
It's like those videos where it's like that rapid fire questions. Yeah. Okay. Is the Ritz an old theater?
Yes, it is. It was built in 1926 during the vaudeville days and presently is still open.
All right. Does Frankie think spirits are former humans and not other entities?
I do think that they are former humans.
Cool.
When Frankie talks to spirit and spirit guide or any that come through, I haven't been drinking and I don't understand that.
I don't know either, but maybe if I did, I would.
Oh, so when you speak to your spirit guides or spirits, do any other come through?
Thank you for your translation.
Do I think spirit guides come through to me personally?
Yes.
No.
I'm guessing so, yeah.
To me, no, because I'm not tapped into that like that. So
oh, I'm gonna put some background noise on while we do the last couple. There we go.
All right. All right.
Is that annoying?
I want to know when you get evidence that it's not in their mind, how do people cope with understanding that?
They have relief. They have relief that somebody is understanding them. And I know this is going to sound weird, but people who listen to or who have auditory and visual hallucinations for most of their life, when that goes away through medication or therapy, it freaks them out because they're so used to it. So,
thank you.
And
Last one
from Grandizer. Did you cover Ouija boards? Does Frankie use them in his research to communicate with spirits? If so, does he have any top stories for us?
No, I've never done Ouija boards or anything like that in any of my investigative work or anything like that. I tend to, Nicole could validate this for me. The spiritualism stuff like dowsing rods, Ouija boards, things like that. I tend to take very, very seriously, more so than the electronic stuff that we have in our kit. So I think it needs to be in the right hands for it to be used the way that it's intended. So, and if it's made by Parker Brothers, probably not really reliable.
Great question. Do you cleanse? Not physically, like when you're out investigating.
Shower, Frankie?
Obviously, you cleanse.
Yes, I do. I sage. I have sprays that are made from people that I work with. I actually have holy water that my family has brought in from other countries. So yeah, I think it's important. Just like we would close a session with a client or a participant. I need to close myself out from a situation. So yeah. definitely.
Do you think it's more the intent behind doing that, or do you think it's like the physical, the sage properties?
I think it's intent. I think it's both. I think it's depending on what you're using. Something like my parents bringing me holy water from Fatima in Portugal, where it's like a spiritual mecca for people. Yeah, I think that's going to have some properties in it that if I go to my local Catholic church and steal some holy water out, it's the intention that it's there, but there's also properties that, when stuff is made up of stuff, it's got protective. I usually wear a Buddha that is, it's made out of certain minerals to help me protect myself. So yeah, I think it's a mix.
Yeah. Cool.
And
Right, we have got one quick
one
question.
last one in.
Yes.
Is this one
you
that you're
got it.
thinking? Okay.
Yeah.
Brandon, I want to know if you had anything attached to you that went home with you, either a good or evil spirit.
Yes. Well, it's not an attachment, but I think it's a very lengthy story, so I may have to save that for the next time that I'm on.
Okay.
Right, I've got one quick question.
Yeah.
Quickly. Obviously, quickly. That's what I've just said. So, do you think it's not? Oh, is that Sambuca? Don't ask. All right. Anyway. So rather than it being an attachment, do you not think like, when you meet someone, you think, yeah, we're going to be mates, and you click and you get on just like that? Do you think that could be the same from spirits to us? It's like, do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I think you're
like a dog would.
Right. Right. I think you hit on it perfectly though. Like when you meet somebody, most of us who are in tune with ourselves and with being with other people.
Yeah.
You can make that connection. I think it's connection rather than attachment. So because in my field, attachment means like almost like in a negative, not in a negative way, but like an unhealthy way, maybe an attachment, where being like connected to people is, I think, more appropriate. Yes, I get connected to the people that I work with. I get connected with spirit. I feel like I'm an empath. We could talk about this another time, but I identify as an HSP. So I think that kind of brings a lot of stuff into, spirit wants to be connected. They don't want to attach to fucking us. They don't want to come with us. They want to just talk to us and then say bye.
Yeah. But do you think though, I know we're going over, but I'll be really quick. Do you think though, by cleansing, you kind of like, they've made that connection with you and you're like, nah, fuck you. You smell, I don't want you near me. Do you not think it's having an adverse effect on what you're 100.
I think you're 100% on point. Now, to go back to that question, do I cleanse every time or everywhere I go? When I go to the Ritz, I don't cleanse. But if I go to Trans-Allegheny Asylum, guess what? I'm going to fucking cleanse a little bit because I don't know what I'm bringing back home. But I think that would sever. It would sever. Relationships are ongoing. You know what I mean? So let's imagine talking to somebody. Me and Andy are kind of like meeting for the first time today, and then him asking me to be on the show, and I'm like, yeah, okay, and then never talking to him again. It's a building of a relationship with people, connection. So yeah.
Shout out real quick to Todd and Carmela.
No, I get that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Right, and you know what? It's that time again. It's a shit time where we've got to end it and I'll go home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, why? Should we start doing 5-hour podcasts or what?
No.
Because
I should have came on the 24. I can talk. I should have been on the 24-hour one. I could fucking talk, people. Next.
We're doing a 48, Frankie. We're doing a 48.
So then listen, we gotta arrange it, and because then you'll have to fucking kick me off is the problem.
That's not, you know what? I'll just leave you on there, let you take over. But no, it was honestly absolute blast having you on here tonight. I think I needed this today.
Good.
Yeah.
Without, I'm not going to go into it, but I've had a really active week, mainly positive, but I just need to round it off. It was just perfect, the perfect end to this week.
Self-care and abundance, people, is important. Make sure you don't have to do the hard shit 24 hours a day. Make sure you incorporate some of that fun stuff in there, that joy, that relief. We deserve that. We all work hard.
This week I've not had a chance to do that. Not that I have chance every week, but I've been trying to make time for it, and it's just not been happening. And then you've come on, it's like, there it is. Synchronicity.
Oh, well, thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Love it. Thank you so much for having me on. And I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. And we will start out to get you and Mark on together. So it'll be the four of us. We'll just do a round table, and it will be, doesn't even have to be paranormal. It will be anything goes. We just go with the flow and see where we end up.
Anything
love
goes
it.
is the way to go.
I love anything goes, Nicole. You know that.
Sorry, I'm just getting it ready to end. Right. So have a amazing weekend, everyone. We will be back on Wednesday. Are you here on Wednesday, Nicole? Because I know you've got some days where you can't do it.
Yep, I'm here.
So we have Chris Turner coming on. Chris Turner is a filmmaker. He does a lot of work with Mick McLaren and the WIT team. He does a lot with Steve Mera, Barry Fitzgerald, and a lot of them people. I don't know what I'm going to say then. So he is on Wednesday, same time, 8:30. You will also be able to listen to this on Podcast Player. So Apple, Spotify, whatever the others are. Don't know, don't care.
Audible.
Audible, we're on Audible. You don't even have to pay for that. It's free. And then on Friday, we've got Kate Hairgirl Ray. So she's from the Nottingham area of the UK, and she's got some amazing stories. I've met her in person. I've listened to Stand Up and Talk. She's been on the show before, but the internet connection was a bit crap. But she's just another version of Frankie, basically. So the more Frankies, the better. That's all I'm going to say. So
my ego can't fit in this little box anymore, guys.
Hey, keep in mind he's drunk.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't care.
Not.
Compliments, drunk or sober, I'll take them.
Excellent. Right. So, on that note, we're gonna go. So I've just got to get something ready. Have a wonderful weekend. Yes, we will be coming on every now and again doing the updates. We're not going to do any more updates from now on. We're going to either pre-record or do quick live. So we've got a live conference coming up towards the summer. A few bits and pieces coming up here and there. I do have a new Instagram account called Bench Guy UK. So I'm going to be going around taking photos of benches, but it's all stemmed from Bench Guy. There's more to it than that. There's different levels of Bench Guy. There's Bench Guy and Dog Bench. Bench Guy and Bench Dog. That's going to come into this just so much. So much. So on that note, have a wonderful weekend. And I've got the wrong page up, and I don't know what I'm doing now.
Too much Sambuca.
What have I done?
Too much Sambuca.
Oh, there we go.
Too much Sambuca, not enough DMT.
Not enough. Not enough anything. And that's the thing. When I come over to the US, DMT. So you have D, M for Monday, T for Tuesday. Rest of the week, work out what I've just done. Anyway, that's it. So have an amazing time. Oh, quick hello to Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Thank you for joining. Sorry, we are finishing now, but if you do go back and listen from the start, it's going to be one of the best shows yet. Thank you all the new subscribers and everyone who's joined on the paid membership. You can get us on Patreon as well. You can join that. You can join it for free. You can join the paid membership versions of it as well. and we're here every Wednesday and Friday at 8:30 UK time, 3:30 EST, 12:30 noon PST. I haven't got a clue of any other time zones. They're the only 4 I know. Right, take care, thank you, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you all on Wednesday.